It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
On this edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, we will take a deep dive into the Ravens versus Bears, Washington versus Carolina, Vikings and Packers, and the Chargers versus the Steelers. Plus, the Carlos Bowl. Carlos gives his thoughts on the Carlos Bowl between the Cowboys and the Chiefs, and so much more. All coming your way next. You're listening to the Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Shout out Q. Shout out Q.
Oh, indeed. I'm glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Coming to you from the Trumbull Insurance Agency virtual studio where you can turn your stress and anxiety into peace and security with Trumbull Insurance. Reach out to Patrick Bankemper at 540-532-0622 for all your insurance needs today. For our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. This is another edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. We are -1 as Carlos is unable to join us today. So we do have the weapon, Dan Dembski, alongside myself today. Dan, how are you, sir?
Great introduction, man. I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me on once again. It's been a long road. It's almost like we're back to the old days a little bit with
the off season. This is like the off season.
That's right, man. The 2-man booth today. So should be good.
A lot to get to in this week 11 slate of games. Absolutely. We will also have Carlos's thoughts on the Carlos Bowl. We will get to that as well, along with my interview with Washington football great Rick Doc Walker, recapping the Washington football team's victory over the Carolina Panthers 20-7-21. So I'm really excited. Big show for us today, but let's get stuff started here, Dan, talking about your Ravens. And I mean, this was probably one of the sloppiest games. I tuned back and forth, but I was like, this is crazy because first and foremost, you have Lamar Jackson, who has a non-COVID related illness and he's unable to go. I'm not sure what Jackson's deal is with him and illness, but it's like he's had this problem a lot. But
what happened was they had a stomach virus go through the facility the week before the game, and he couldn't beat it. And part of that, I think, is because he had COVID and his immune system he had COVID twice technically. And his immune system probably isn't in the best shape. So that's not confirmed, but like let's be real, that's probably what it is. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
So Tyler Huntley gets the start in this game and doesn't really look the best. Throws an interception, 26 for 36, 219 yards. I mean, this was the game that the Bears needed to win. And once again, the Bears find a way not to win this game. And it comes down game-winning drive once again. That fourth down play at the very end, Dan, blown coverage, and Andy Dalton, after Justin Fields goes out with an apparent rib injury, goes out and scores, takes the lead. But then the Ravens, they just make another comeback drive, another game-winning drive, and ends up winning this football game 16-13.
Yeah. You pretty much just said it. You know that this team is built for comebacks for some odd reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something in their system that they like the adrenaline of trying to make a comeback. It makes fans sit, still on the edge of their seats. That's for sure, and gives us high blood pressure. But yeah, this game was. I mean, sloppy is definitely a great way to put it. The big thing for the Ravens was going to be establishing the run, and they never really did in this game, not consistently. They had Devontae Freeman at their leading rusher with 49 yards. Huntley had 40 yards. So, I mean, that goes to show you kind of, without Lamar, they really have to establish the run if they're going to be successful. But look, Huntley threw for 219 yards, and I know you said that the Bears. Another loss for the Bears or whatever. The Bears find another way. How about the Ravens finding another way to win? I think that's the key thing for me is with all the injuries they've had, with all the crazy stuff they've had happening to them, they shouldn't be 7-3, but they're the difference is they're resilient. Resilient football teams find a way to win games when they have to win them. So the Ravens are that way. But yeah, Andy Dalton had a great game against this defense, for sure. And of course, it looked almost like it did a few times when he was on the Bengals. And what comes to mind is that knocking us out of the playoffs. I think it was 2017, maybe 2016. I try to wipe it out of my memory, but that final game of the season when he helped knock the Ravens off, and one of them was a long touchdown pass, very similar to what happened in this game. Now, very different circumstances, obviously. We still have a long road here in the season. So, yeah, I think that's the first thing I'd address is, like, why do you blitz 8 guys there? And if people were watching the live stream that we did on Sunday, they'll see and hear my frustration was pretty clear about that play. And I think Harbaugh commented after the game that essentially sometimes you put all your cards on the table, but I don't like it. I mean, Big Bill Cowher said afterwards, and this was really well said by him, that there's situational football. There are times when you have to just sit back and play coverage, and there are times when you blitz. And on a 4th down and long, with the game on the line, you don't blitz 8 guys like that. That's just foolish. So I totally agree with him. And it looked like it was going to cost the Ravens, but you got to give Tyler Huntley credit. He drove them all the way down the field, had some really nice passes on that last drive, and then Devontae Freeman finishes it off. Good football teams find ways to win even without their best players. So the Ravens are 7-3 for a reason. The defense played really well other than that one drive at the end of the game. Other than that, I was pretty happy with how we played. Now, I know Chicago doesn't have the best offense, let's be honest. But the defense had been giving up loads of points week after week after week. So this was an important step for them too, to finally, change that narrative that they just give up, so many points. So that was key. And then for the offense, there was some struggling going on for sure. I thought Sammy Watkins, it was good to see him back in the lineup. He had 3 catches for 48 yards. He was targeted 4 times. So he's going to be key for the Ravens now moving forward. I think they needed that other security blanket type of receiver, preferably for Lamar, but for Tyler Huntley in this game. And that was key. This game was like, it was just very stagnant there for a while. Very close, not a lot of points scored. I think you pretty much mentioned that in your intro. So my takeaway from all this is simply, the Ravens, first of all, the Ravens have to get more healthy, and I think getting Lamar back is going to be huge for them moving forward. And getting some cornerbacks back, because they have a couple guys who were supposed to play this past weekend, including Jimmy Smith, and Jimmy Smith didn't play once again. So he'll be key to coming back as well, because if he's out there and he was covering on that play, it was Stevens who got beat on that fourth down touchdown pass. That doesn't happen. That straight up doesn't happen. So, I think that's really all I have for this game. It wasn't the most flashy game. But like I said, good teams find a way without their best players. And the Ravens have been, like I said at the start, riddled with injuries, not just Lamar, but, 14, 15 guys on IR. I think 6 or 7 starters on IR on both sides of the ball, well, combined on both sides of the ball. So it's been tough. And, the key thing moving forward is, can they get more healthy? And, they need to establish the run. That's the key thing for their offense. If they can do that, whether it's Lamar or Tyler Huntley, I really don't think their offense can be slowed down. The offensive line, again, that was another reason why I thought Huntley struggled. We really saw the issues of the offensive line come out. And I think with Lamar, it sort of gets masked a little bit because, he's able to escape easier and things like that. But Tyler Huntley he's not Lamar. He's not the crazy athletic, can throw the ball just as well as he can pass it player like Lamar is. So I'll take the win. It was ugly. We're 7-3. We're one of the best teams in the AFC right now. And like I said, with all the injuries, all the attrition that this team has gone through, I'm very pleased where we are right now. I just hope we continue to get healthy. And very tough stretch of schedule coming down the season here, as we have most of our divisional games, as well as having to play Green Bay and the Rams. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this Ravens team, I feel like some of the play calling in my mind was questionable, and I'll go back to what you said about blitzing 8 on that 4th down play. I mean, some of that, if you change it up, there's a chance it might come down to the 4th down being incomplete or not successful, and you win the game right there. And you don't even have to worry about a comeback drive to win the game. Exactly. So it's stuff like that. I feel like the Ravens need to work more on. They're 7-3, and I still feel like they need to work on some of that fine tuning stuff, and then they might be even better.
Yeah. And we've seen the offensive play call issues as well. Not as much with this game. I just feel like the execution in this game just wasn't there. For whatever reason, for a lot of the game. It's really until late in the game when they needed to. We saw in the Dolphins game, really the play calling was pretty poor. And when the Ravens won the Super Bowl at the end of the 2012-2013 season, they fired their offensive coordinator, in week 11 or 12. It was late in the season. It was a little later than now. But they made a change, and that ignited that offense for whatever reason to make that run into the playoffs. So I don't think they do that now. But there are times when I will say Greg Roman does things that I'm very confused about, and the play calling just seems to get predictable. I think that falls squarely on the offensive coordinator's shoulder. So I think that's another thing too. Be more unpredictable, be more bold, and again, when your starting quarterback is missing practices and stuff like that, you can't always work on that stuff. So that's another element to that as well. But I'm happy with where the Ravens are, especially the rest of the AFC right now is pandemonium. I mean, I know we'll talk about these games, but you saw what happened to the Bills and the Titans this past weekend. It's just been crazy. No team has really asserted their dominance at all. We're starting to think that the teams that we thought were the dominant teams are now not so much. And that's on the AFC and the NFC side. So, like I said, I'm happy with 7-3. They always have stuff to clean up, and that's going to be key, especially going up against these divisional opponents and the Packers and the Rams. You have to be on your P's and Q's essentially as I dropped my phone on the ground and it really fell. You have to be on it completely to finish out the season, and hopefully this is a playoff team, and you have to have 110% when it comes to the playoffs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% with that, Dan. So once again, that's the first game on our list. The Ravens 16 and the Bears 13. And I don't even think we touched on this. I touched on it a little bit, but Justin Fields, a rib injury, and Andy Dalton coming in throwing 11 for 23 and 2 touchdowns. So
he looked good. He looked good. And
that quarterback situation in Chicago every single year seems to be a mess.
Yeah, and one guy plays well for a couple weeks and then struggles, and it's like you said, it's a revolving door with that situation. So.
Absolutely. So moving on, Dan, we will talk about the Washington football team defeating the Carolina Panthers. It was a homecoming for two people. Number one, Ron Rivera, who was a former coach for the Carolina Panthers, and homecoming for former Panthers quarterback who got re-signed to the Panthers after getting released from the Patriots. However you want to put it, he used to be on the Panthers and now he's back, Cam Newton. And they started off the broadcast showing Cam coming out of the tunnel, and it looked electrifying. It seemed like fans really liked him and liked him being back. I know fans loved him and whatnot. And it seemed like Cam really wanted to come back to Charlotte and perform well for the fans who love him and who have loved him in his first tenure in Carolina. And I must say, I think Cam played pretty well. I mean, obviously, people are saying, oh, yeah, Cam's going to be the starter and whatnot. But there's also this reality of the fact that Cam Newton is not in the Ron Rivera system. He's in the Matt Rule system. So you can't learn that whole playbook in so much time, because I know he was the red zone quarterback last week with PJ Walker taking most of the snaps. With that being said, I mean, he could have learned the whole playbook, Dan. I don't know, but he had a pretty good game, only throwing 21 for 27, 189 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So give credit where credit is due. Cam Newton looked very well. I don't know if he can do better, but I mean, in my opinion, he had a pretty good performance against Washington in this football game. But looking on the other side of the football, this was a test for the Washington football team, in my opinion, to see if the game last week was a fluke or if the Washington football team is trying to become a better team and get on a roll. And this is Taylor Heineke's second straight game.
Yeah, he played well.
With very good numbers. 16 for 22. 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. Taylor Heineke is the top graded PFF quarterback in week 11 for this week, just so you know. So, I mean, Washington there on offense, Heineke looked well. He was getting out of the pocket, trying to make things happen instead of being limited to a pocket passer. I know that's been an issue. And you look on the defensive side of the ball without Chase Young, without Montez Sweat, and you're playing pretty good football. And I mean, there was only 1 sack that was at the end of the game, but I feel like the defense caused pressure. And yeah, I mean, there are improvements that need to be made, but the defense looked better than I've seen in the first maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks this season, in my opinion.
No, you said it well. I'll start with Cam Newton. And, last week, of course, like you said, he has to learn a whole new system. So he wasn't going to, play as much as people expected. I think he'll get better. He'll get more acclimated to the new system. And we saw that in this game. I thought he played about as well as he could have played. He carried their offense. I mean, Christian McCaffrey he's back. I think now this is like his second or third week back in the lineup. I can't remember because he seems to always be hurt. So it's hard to keep up with. But credit Washington's defense, man. Only holding McCaffrey to 59 yards rushing is impressive. And pretty much shutting down the Panthers rushing attack. That was key for Washington's defense. And then they made enough plays to give their offense an opportunity. And that's the key thing. And you mentioned Chase Young and Montez Sweat not playing. It's interesting. They've played better in the last couple weeks without of course when with Chase Young getting hurt. I think eventually they will feel the sting from that, but but right now they're playing better than they were the entire season. So it's something to watch for if they can continue to get on this roll. I think also, Washington established the run. 95 rushing yards for Antonio Gibson in this game. I've talked about it week after week. The main thing they have to do is establish the run. It makes it easier for Taylor Heineke. He only had to throw it 22 times. That's the key for me. If Washington's going to win games, it's going to start with the run game. 19 rushing attempts for Antonio Gibson. He should be back number one. I know they kind of do a running back by committee thing. McKissick doesn't impress me enough. I think when you have a two running back system where you sort of split evenly, it's not the best idea. I don't think so.
Well, the reasoning behind seeing Patterson and McKissick is because Antonio Gibson fumbled in the red zone, and Ron Rivera benched him.
Yeah,
you have to hold accountability there because we'll get to Rick Doc Walker in just a moment, but he said something very well about this. I'll let him touch on, but about accountability and stuff like that. But
no, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
If you're going to fumble the ball in the red zone, you're going to expect to get benched.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I agree with that. And, but I do think eventually if Gibson shows, he has a couple string of games here where he protects the football and he continues to play well, they gotta make him the number one back. I've never been a huge fan of the running back by committee thing, except when it's a team like the Ravens who has two washed up running backs. But back to Washington, Taylor Heineke was impressive. Just 6 incomplete passes, 200 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The big thing for him, no interceptions, which
that's always
for the last few weeks, he seems to have an ill-advised interception. So the key thing for him and his growth as a quarterback, which now he's got 15 touchdowns, 9 picks on the season, is limiting the mistakes. That's it. That's all he had. That's all he has to do. And he's got some pretty good weapons. McLaurin, we know how great Scary Terry is. Humphreys has really developed into a nice receiver, and they're a little banged up in the receiving core as well. So
who do you call DeAndre Carter?
DeAndre Carter. Yep,
oh man, he started as a kick returner, and he got moved into that wide receiver role. In Terry complementing with DeAndre Carter. Excellent combination. I really, really like watching them, both of them play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I mean that's what I have to say about Washington. I think their defense has played better recently, but we'll see if they can keep it going. That's the key. They're 4-6 right now. They have to continue to get better. And then for Carolina, I mean at this point their season's kind of a wash. As far as in my opinion, them being a playoff team, they're not a playoff team in that division with Tampa Bay, for sure. And I don't really think they'd get in as a wild card. So for them, I just want to see them continue to improve. I think they have with Cam Newton. I mean, he gives them a much better chance to win than old Mono Sam Darnold. So yeah, this was a good matchup, and Riverboat Ron gets the win.
Yeah, absolutely. Riverboat Ron gets the win in Carolina, where he started his, I think started his coaching career. I want to say I could be wrong about that, but he's been in the league for so long. But where he took Carolina to a Super Bowl, did not end up winning, but still took Carolina to a Super Bowl. A lot of memories there. So a lot of storylines out of that game. With more on this victory, Washington 27 and the Panthers 21, we will take it to my interview with Washington great Rick Doc Walker. All right, joining us now on the Kirby on Sports podcast to recap the Washington football team's victory over the Carolina Panthers 27-21. It is the doctor, Rick Doc Walker. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Kirk. Good to be on the program.
Yes, always a pleasure to have you back, sir. It's been quite a while. I mean, it must be nice celebrating a nice Washington football team victory after an electric appearance by Cam Newton at pregame. It seemed like that stadium was rocking, excited to see Cam Newton back.
Yeah, I mean, all the pageantry, but, I thought it was overhyped. There's no way a guy in less than a week can come in and be as good as he may ultimately be. I thought we caught him at the right time. Ron said the same thing. But it's not about Cam. It's about us, how we play. All we need to do is handle our business. And it's the NFL. The Texans beat Tennessee. It's the NFL. This is not the ACC or SEC. There are no weak links. Everybody's capable of kicking your behind. And so you just got to go out there and play like John Allen. John Allen, to me, is a warrior. He's leading this charge. And Heineke and Gibson, if they don't give the other team encouragement by fumbling or throwing picks, we're becoming a very difficult team to beat.
Absolutely. And let's just start with the defense. They've been playing exceptionally well these past 2 weeks, better than in past weeks, unfortunately, without Chase Young or Montez Sweat. But it seemed like that wasn't an issue. It seemed like it was next man up for this Washington defense.
Well, it's not like they were Deacon Jones and Joe. I mean, we're on the hype. Oh, that's great. We're not in the offseason now. This ain't about commercials, and they got nothing to do with can you beat your guy? And both guys played under their talent. Both guys held talent hostage. And yet, I can't wait to get them back because I think they'll be better than ever. Now that they've seen this team is not dependent upon. You don't have a life lock on this team. It's the NFL. Everybody can be replaced. So it's not about what you've done in the past. It's what you're doing now. And they weren't busting a grape based on their talent. And I think they'll be much better when they return.
Yeah, so looking here at this offense, it looks like these past 2 weeks, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Taylor Heineke's performance because it seems like to me, and I could be wrong, it seems like Scott Turner's letting him move more outside of the pocket, letting him make plays when they're not there. And he did that on that 1 4th and 3 to John Bates. That was an incredible throw. What are your thoughts on Taylor Heineke so far?
Well, he's getting better. Again, he and Gibson, I put him in the same boat. Love them to death as long as they don't turn the ball over. The moment they turn the ball over, I got to move on because the frequency was killing them. We lost 4 games in a row. We given the ball away. So Gibson gave it up again, and Ron put his behind on the bench for half. And he came back, and he's a hell of a player. But I don't play fumblers. It's too hard to get where you are to have somebody be that undisciplined. Same thing with Heineke. Hit our guy, not their guy. Be who you are and compete. He's so competitive. I love him for what he brings to the table. But the whole team's on a short rope with me. I'm not going to be beating the bongo drums here for a team that's won 3 or 4 games. We got a lot of time. We got to make up a lot of space because we effed up the first of the season. So now it's time for redemption. Coach Turner, to me, called another great game. It's not about the kids. You got to put them in a position. Our offensive line, even Larson came in, played well. He got hurt. Next man up. And that big group of hombres are playing their butts off if the coach will simply give them a chance to show what they're made of. And he did it, and they're doing it. And I don't expect us to stop. I expect us to get better.
Absolutely. You look here, Doc, at the tight end position, and it seems like there are injuries left and right at the tight end position, but it seems like that 1/3 from Bates, I'm going to go back to Heineke to Bates. I feel like the next the next tight end is playing just as well, but it seems like Logan Thomas is on the trek to make his return here soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get involved in injured players. I don't give a damn. If you're not playing, you're gone. I'm into the guys that are there. And so we got a young man from Chile who is getting a few snaps in there. He's even going to get better. It's a next man up league. Anybody that whines and talks about who's not playing, to me, is a moron. It's nothing to be disrespectful about. You can't help me. I know you'd love to, but you can't help. So now you're seeing the byproduct of their front office. They pick Bates up. Good move. Whoever voted for that, good move. So the people that come in, at every position, Carter's, to me, him and Terry, they doing this. But they drafted, kid out of Carolina, Damien. He's not playing. And when he's there, he's not. He don't jump out at me. Sims jumps out. I want guys that want to go. I don't care where you went to school. I don't give a damn what round you were drafted in. I want you to play. And you play on Sunday, and you play hard, and you play smart. We got a chance to win. If not, it's the same old crap.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, DeAndre Carter started off the year as a kick returner. Then they bring him in the wide receiver slot. He looks pretty darn well. It looks like another weapon along with Terry McLaurin. McLaurin in this game, 5 receptions, 103 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, DeAndre only had 22 yards, but he also had a touchdown in that game also.
Yeah, I love him. I love him. Cameron Curl, I'm crazy about him. Casey Toohill, Smith Williams, Landon Collins in the box. He's a badass in the box. So, but they were treating him like it's like putting your child in charge of paying your bills. They asking him what he wants to do. I don't give a damn what he wants to do. Here's where he's best. You either play that position or you're out. I don't need you. Because if you got to play a safety, I'd cut him. But if you want to play linebacker, then I'll make him captain. That's how good he can be. But I'm not messing around with nobody's damn ego on a team that won 2 games. Not me.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. But, I mean, looking ahead, they have a Monday night matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be very interesting, Doc, to see if this team can continue playing how they are. I'm not saying by any stretch that this team is perfect. There are still adjustments that need to be made, but it looks like they're getting better and better.
Yeah, they are. And I love their effort. I love their effort all year. That's why I believe in them, because it's not a lack of effort. It's a lack of technique. It's a lack of discipline. It's a lack of coordination. So once you rule all that out and get, look, a bad football team does not need any prima donnas. We need blue collar guys that coming in here to get their elbows dirty and go to war. So now we got that great group of guys in here. They're trying to, hey man, they want nice things too. They want to be in commercials and drive convertibles and do all those things. Mm-hmm. So on a really good team, unless you're Aaron Donald or somebody, you miss time, you gone. You never get your job back. You might still be on the team, but a good team, everybody's competing for playing time. You don't just give some sucker playing time because of how you drafted him. That ain't got a damn thing to do with his results. You either step up, get the job done, or move on. We've been stuck in mediocrity for decades. It's time to get this. I'm tired of this. I'm ready to move forward. And either we get the right people in place or we get other people.
Absolutely. Rick Doc Walker, a man that speaks the truth, a former Washington football great. Rick, we appreciate the time, sir. I know you have a very podcast that's up and coming on Patreon. Tell my listeners where they can find you at.
Hey, man, we're not for everybody. That's why I love this. We got it. Like the Surgeon General, they have that label. They say, too much of me could be hazardous to your health. So be careful. But if you got the guts to join us inside the locker room, www.patreon.com/Doc Walker. We would love to embrace you. But again, we're not for everybody. Because I'm coming hard to the mic, and we're strong about our opinion. So if you can deal with it, love to have you. If not, thank you.
Yes, sir. Rick, always a pleasure chopping it up with you, sir. Let's do it again soon.
Anytime. Look forward to it. Good deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you about Regroup Building Services. If you're looking to get your home remodeled, any part of your home, bathroom, kitchen, want to get a deck built, anything like that, Regroup Building Services can just about do everything. And take it from me, because they came in and they remodeled my family's kitchen, and they do a great job. So if you're looking for any sort of home remodeling needs, deck work done, anything of that nature, reach out to my guy Sean Hibbard over at Regroup Building Services today. You can check them out on their website, www.regroupbuildingservices.com, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you. Once again, the Washington football team 27 and the Carolina Panthers 21. A big thanks to Washington great Rick Doc Walker for taking the time to interview with me about this contest as well. Once again, I'm Josh Kirby, joined by the weapon Dan Dembski. Carlos is off this week. Dan, the next game on our slate, the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. This is Aaron Rodgers' first game back after the whole COVID mess. You know, that's in the past. But he threw 4 touchdowns, but the Packers just did not look 100% for some reason. And I heard that Aaron Rodgers has some sort of toe injury. I'm not sure if that attributed in any way or if that was after the game. Granted, Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns in the game, but in my opinion, the Packers just did not look right, in my opinion. I'm not sure why. Looking at the Vikings, Kirk Cousins with 3 touchdowns on the day. And I'll tell you what, who I really liked seeing in that game was Justin Jefferson. He has been playing very well for this Minnesota Vikings football team. In my opinion, in this game, he didn't play that much in this game, but he's still a factor. He had 2 touchdowns, 169 yards. So, it's really good to see a player like Jefferson to complement Adam Thielen, because
they have weapons.
Yeah, they have a lot of weapons. It's just, can Kirk Cousins utilize them to the best of his ability and win? And this is another flash for Kirk Cousins where Minnesota might go out and pay him another $84 million a year. But case in point, how many close games have the Vikings been in this season? Because it's ridiculous. I know Vikings fans that I talk to about every week, and they just can't take much more of the close games, and losing or game-winning field goal like what happened in this game. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, they've been in a ton of close ones. Seemingly every week, just about, has been a one-possession game. Except their win against Seattle back in week 3. That's the last time they had a win that was, or a game that was, less than one possession. And I know they're 5-5, but Kirk Cousins has been one of the most consistent quarterbacks this year. 20 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions on the season.
Wow.
We give him a lot of crap, and look, he kind of deserves it. He's Kirk Cousins. But he really has been playing well this season so far. And all of those Vikings games that were so close could have easily been wins. They just needed to make 1 or 2 more plays, and I guess you could argue they could technically be undefeated, but that's not how it works. But the key thing for the Vikings in this game, I think, was wearing out the Packers defense, and the Packers just had no answer. Whether it was Dalvin Cook, who had a really good game, 86 rushing yards, or Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, or Conklin just destroying their secondary. That's it for me. We had a feeling this was going to be a high-scoring contest, both offenses. We know how good they can be, and this lived up to the expectations. It's funny because in the NFC North, we all just assume the Packers are going to roll every division game or whatever, but you got to give the Vikings credit. They're not out of it yet. They're not out of it yet. They have to string together some wins here and hope the Packers slip up a couple more times. But look, it's a long season. You still got 6 or 7 weeks to go. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. And I think for the Packers, their offense, they have nothing to worry about. It's with Rodgers. They have a game this week, and then of course they have a bye week. So he can heal up more in the bye week. And then one thing I will say about the Packers offense is the fact that AJ Dillon didn't really get going in this game, and that's a reason why Rodgers had to throw it almost 35 times.
Yeah, that's not really good, except for if you're Aaron Rodgers, because he'll make something happen even with a hurt toe.
No, he gives him a chance every game. It doesn't matter who they're playing or what the circumstances are. That's just Aaron Rodgers. So their offense doesn't have much to worry about. I think establishing the run is still important for them. But look, they're 8-3. They're going to be fine. They have a bye week in 2 weeks, like I said, so that'll be key for them to get more healthy, get some guys back, and they'll be fine. I think for Minnesota, what I want to see is them start to compile two or three wins in a row, because they've, like you said, they've had so many heartbreaking losses. It's just deflating when you lose so many games by one possession, So that's the key for me for them. There isn't much defense in the NFL other than, there's a couple defenses that stand out, but there's so many of these high scoring games every week. And I think this game was just another example of that.
Absolutely. So once again, the Vikings 34 and the Packers 31, a game-winning field goal to win the game for the Minnesota Vikings. Last but not least on our slate of games, the Sunday night matchup, between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's crazy to think that the Steelers put up 27 points in the fourth quarter. It would going into this game, I thought the Chargers were going to run away with this, but 27 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah. And
they were running.
Then 27 points in the fourth quarter later, and you have a close game, but it comes down to a game-winning touchdown with 2 minutes, 14 seconds, Justin Herbert to Mike Williams for the score. But let's look here. 30 for 41, 382 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Justin Herbert. I would make a case for offensive player of the week right there, because Justin Herbert really, really amazed me on what he could do.
Yeah, and he's shown so much maturity and just, and how far he's come. He's even better, I think, this season than he was last year.
And 90 yards rushing on top of that.
Right. Exactly. And he was their leading rusher, because Eckler never really got going, and they struggled to establish the run, the traditional run, I should say, because there's so many rushing quarterbacks now. But yeah, you said it well. With the Chargers, they're so talented, and when Herbert threw that interception, it bounced off Casey Hayward's helmet, or Casey, what's his name? Not Casey, Cam Hayward. Sorry, I was thinking of Casey Hampton. That's a throwback. That's a player I haven't thought of in a long time. But when he threw that interception and the Steelers drove down, and I believe they took the lead. I'm trying to remember because it's all kind of a blur.
I think they might have.
I think so. And then the Chargers were able to go down and get the game-winning touchdown anyway. But this was a really fun game, and the Sunday night games this year have been really, really good for the most part. There's been a couple stinkers here and there, but this lived up to the billing. The Chargers are a really good football team, and look, that division's wide open. Just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we thought the Kansas City was done, and now they're back in it. They were leading the division, so the Chargers have to win to keep up at this point, and that's the important thing for them. So they were able to get the job done. Crazy game for Keenan Allen. I mean, he had 9 catches, 112 yards, and Mike Williams 5 catches, 97 yards. I mean, those guys have been doing it for so long for the Chargers. They're so damn good. And then I'm not even going to really touch on the defenses because neither defense really put up much of a fight in this game. Pittsburgh, of course, got the clutch turnover that led them to go ahead and grab the lead late in the game. I thought that was it. But the Chargers were able to answer. So
that was a very nice touchdown catch to seal the game up, by the way. I think that was really clutch. Yeah. I mean, Justin Herbert, just hands down, he probably put up a lot of points for fantasy owners this week.
No doubt at all. And another key thing about like this is like the poise to come back and the poise to be able to, put together that go ahead or winning touchdown is just it takes something extra, and Justin Herbert has that. He's just fun to watch in general. So the Chargers are in good hands. They can't let Herbert get away anytime soon. They have to sign him for long term. I'll go to Pittsburgh now real quick, and we all thought Pittsburgh was done. Obviously we saw how they played against the Lions. It's a disgrace to football. No one deserved to win that game, and rightfully so, no one did. But Big Ben carried their offense in this game. 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards, no turnovers. They said he'd been battling some injuries in the earlier part of the season. That's why he struggled so badly. And you're really seeing now him get more comfortable in the pocket, and also not getting hit as much. That's key for any quarterback, but especially Big Ben at his age, where the injuries could always increase. So, I think Pittsburgh is interesting to me. I don't really consider them a playoff team right now. But they showed in this game that they have what it takes to compete at a playoff level. Offensively, the defense is another story. But another key problem for Pittsburgh, and something that I think they're going to have to address going down the line, is, again, they can't establish the run, and they couldn't establish the run in this game. Najee Harris only had 39 rushing yards. Yeah. So Big Ben was forced to throw it a lot. Now, Pittsburgh falling behind had a lot to do with that. I mean, going into the fourth quarter, it's 27-10 at that point. And how about the comeback by Pittsburgh, outscoring the Chargers 27-14 in the fourth quarter? That was impressive. It's an impressive run they had. So both these teams, I think, are interesting to me. I think the Chargers will, like I said, they'll be fine. They're just going to have to continue to hope Kansas City slips up, and they have to keep taking care of business. And I think for Pittsburgh, I'm not sure how this season is going to end up for them. But I will say that they proved to me that their offense still has it in this game.
Absolutely. That was the final game on our list. The Los Angeles Chargers 41 and the Pittsburgh Steelers 37. On the other side of the break, you'll hear from the Swiss Army Knife recapping the Carlos Bowl. Stay tuned. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com.
Yes, what is going on, everyone? Carlos Martinez here, also known as the Swiss Army Knife. Unfortunately, I could not be on the podcast this week, but how could I not come on and talk about the Carlos Bowl in some way, shape, or form? So with that being said, my takeaways start right now. So really, this game was a lot for me to watch. I have 5 takeaways that I really took away from this game and a couple other thoughts that I could possibly throw in, but I'll try to keep this quick so you guys can get back to the normal episode. So the Kansas City Chiefs ends up beating the Dallas Cowboys 19-9. Pretty lackluster game offensively. Defensively, both defenses played fantastic. My number one takeaway is the Dallas defense is legit. And normally, I said it on the live stream before the game, because we live streamed the first slate of games, the 1 o'clock slate of games, that basically Dallas's defense is predicated a lot on takeaways, but if they can't get takeaways and if the offense can't get going, we can't necessarily rely on them to win. I would like to retract that statement because Dallas's defense is legit. They stepped up and played fantastic. They held Kansas City scoreless on 5 straight possessions. Of course, and didn't let a single touchdown pass. Patrick Mahomes didn't throw a single touchdown pass. So really, I think it's time for us to maybe take away that label of this Dallas defense is just an opportunistic defense and necessarily can't win the game by themselves, because they kept us in the game. Now, they didn't hold Kansas City down, of course. Kansas City did score a touchdown on their, I believe on their first possession. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran it in, of course. And then, but really from there, Kansas City didn't really do much. It was we held them to field goals, which really kept Dallas in this game. But that brings me to, so really this loss isn't necessarily on the defense. I believe the defense kept us in this game. They played at a level that the offense couldn't match, which is strange because most of the time it's the offense who plays a lot better than the defense. And that brings me to my second takeaway. Dallas needs to clean up these dumb penalties. Dumb penalties all game. We're the number one penalized team in the NFL this season. We got to clean those up. I mean, dumb holding calls, false starts that are just drive killers. I mean, going into the fourth quarter specifically, I can remember there was one penalty where, we're driving down the field. We're feeling good at the end of the third quarter. It looks like Dallas has a little momentum going, and then fourth quarter starts and we immediately get a false start, and it pretty much just takes the wind out of our sails, and Dallas can't convert and ends up kicking a field goal. Just dumb penalties like that. Obviously, we didn't necessarily get, there were 3 calls that didn't go our way that I can specifically think of. So Kansas City didn't necessarily get every call, but we definitely got screwed out of some calls, and I'll touch on that a bit later. Number 3, the O-line needs to step up in big games, and we need to start thinking about life without Tyron Smith, because Tyron Smith can't stay healthy anymore. He hasn't been healthy for for at least the last 3 seasons, maybe even 4 seasons. I can't remember him actually finishing playing a complete season. So I think we definitely need to start thinking about what life is going to look like after Tyron Smith, or even now, we need to start thinking of a succession plan, because Tyron Smith is not going to be, in the NFL much longer, in my opinion. He can't stay healthy. He's constantly being plagued by ankle injuries. And I understand not playing him in this game because obviously we have 3 games in 12 days. And he can be on a normal schedule going into next Thursday's, or obviously for Thanksgiving, and then of course we'd play New Orleans the next Thursday, so he can go back on a normal schedule. That's fine. But really, I mean, Terrence Steele he played so well while Lyle Collins was out on the right side, but since he's moved to the left side, aside from that game against the Falcons, he did not do well. The whole offensive line did not play well this game. So much pressure was put on Dak Prescott. It was crazy, and that's why Dak couldn't get into a rhythm, because they allowed 5 sacks. The whole season, they'd only allowed 11 sacks on Dak Prescott. And then this week, he was sacked 5 times in this game, which is ridiculous. I mean, 3 by Chris Jones. Chris Jones was an absolute animal. And, I mean, this Kansas City defense, I got to give them credit also. They played very, 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 very well. And with that being said, I mean, this was just really a game of defense. Steve Spagnuolo played a perfect game plan against Dallas's O-line, really attacked us where it hurt. And it showed. I mean, we couldn't get the running game really going. Dak Prescott couldn't, really get into a rhythm passing wise. There was a lot of problems offensively for Dallas that we definitely need to address going into Thanksgiving. Takeaway number 4. Kansas City's crowd played a big factor in Dallas not getting the offense going. Listen, Arrowhead is difficult to play in, and not every stadium is Arrowhead Stadium, but you could tell the team was rattled, especially coming in the beginning of the game. We couldn't, communication was off, and it's definitely a lot tougher when you are in a hostile environment and you start to have, or you can't get going. It's hard to get going, I believe, in that type of environment. So I will say Kansas City's crowd definitely came out to play, and they did a fantastic job in rattling Dallas's offense. Number 5, no CD or Amari on Thanksgiving could be a problem. CeeDee Lamb, of course, left the game at halftime with concussion off of the, that final play that we had in the first half. Dak Prescott throws it up and throws an interception in the end zone and try to really force the ball to CeeDee Lamb in the end zone. CeeDee Lamb went up and tried to play defender, try to knock the ball out of the Kansas City defender's hands. Didn't necessarily do it, and when he landed, his head slammed straight into the ground, and he was ruled out at the start of the third quarter with a concussion. Of course, Amari Cooper is out due to COVID, and I'm guessing he's not vaccinated. I'm not sure. If he's not vaccinated, he's definitely not going to be back for Thanksgiving because you have to quarantine for 10 days, and then you can come back. So he might not be back until the next Thursday night game, but I do not foresee him playing in the Thanksgiving game. So, and if CD has a concussion, who knows how quickly he's going to be able to come back from that. Is he going to make it in time for Thanksgiving? Is he going to be cleared in time? I don't think he will. So we're going to be going without Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, which was a big issue in this game because Wilson and all the other receivers that kind of replaced them. The only one that was really reliable were our tight end and, of course, Michael Gallup. It's great that we have Michael Gallup back now, but it was definitely tough to watch because offensively we could not get going. So even with CeeDee Lamb, it was very tough. They were double cover, they were playing double coverage on him, and really, it was just a bad game by Dak Prescott and this offense. Kellen Moore called an awful game in this game, it's going to be a big problem. Obviously, the Raiders lost today to the Bengals, 32-13, and that's good news, I guess, because it's showing. It's not like the Raiders are at the level that they were a little earlier at the season. Of course, they've had so many problems that we've touched on the podcast, but Dallas not having our top weapons going into this game might be a problem. And right now we are at we're the third seed. And while these are the games that you can afford to lose, which are AFC games, we don't have a lot of room here to drop games. I mean, it seemed like Dallas was comfortable losing this game by not starting Tyron Smith, because I don't think in Dallas's mind this was a must-win the way it was in the fans' minds. Now, of course, we wanted to see them play fantastic, and we wanted to see them play against the Chiefs and, light them up or whatever, but it didn't happen. Dak Prescott didn't look good, and it's because the offensive line did not play at the level that we know that they can play at. So, with that being said, Dallas definitely has a lot of work to do. A couple things I want to touch on before I go is there are 3 atrocious no-call penalties that they did not call in favor of the Dallas Cowboys. There was the one intentional grounding where it was absolutely clear Patrick Mahomes threw that out of bounds. No receiver was around the area, and he was inside the tackle box. And the refs try to say, oh, Tyreek was in the air. Tyreek was like 20 yards down the field. He was nowhere near that ball, in my opinion. That was bad. Now, I'm not saying these calls would have, changed the course of the game the way it was going. It was clear from, the way the trajectory of the game that Dallas wasn't going to get going. My fear was mostly how long could this defense hold before the floodgates open? And they held Patrick Mahomes to no touchdown passes, and they committed multiple turnovers, or not committed. They forced multiple turnovers on Kansas City, and really gave Dallas a shot. It's just our offense didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Another thing, drops. We had the receiving core, aside from Amari Cooper, aside from CeeDee Lamb, aside from Michael Gallup, they need to do better. They dropped so many passes that it just did not help the case, especially when considering, the pressure that Dak Prescott was on all game. I mean, the rest of the receiving core did not do their job. They need to step up. The offensive line needs to step up. The biggest plus side of or plus that came out of this game was definitely Micah Parsons coming out and doing what he did. He had Patrick Mahomes running for his life, and not just Micah Parsons, just the whole defense in general really stepped up this game. Dan Quinn really showing his worth again. Ultimately, I still believe Dallas is the better team than Kansas City, but it was already going to be a tall task to beat this team at Arrowhead with that crowd, with Amari Cooper out. Now you add in the elements of our offensive line was banged up. No Tyron Smith. Zeke gets hurt kind of in this game and doesn't really get going, because the offensive line can't really hold anything. Dak Prescott doesn't get into a rhythm. The receivers are dropping balls. Everything kind of worked into the favor of Kansas City, except our defense had something to say about them not being able to hang with Kansas City's offense. Kansas City's offense isn't back. They looked exactly how they've looked all season aside from last week. They're not back. So with that being said, I still think that if Dallas is 100% healthy and they come and play this Kansas City, I still think Dallas still beats Kansas City. But tonight was not their night. Tonight was the night for Kansas City, my other team. So it's a win-win for me, ultimately. It does suck because Dallas had the opportunity at the 1 seed here. Of course, that was kind of contingent on Seattle handling business against Arizona, but they didn't. But we still could have had the number 2 seed. Of course, we lost. So we stay at the 3. If Tampa Bay wins tomorrow, we go down to the 4. Either way, we're going to have a home playoff game. I'm not necessarily worried about this team because we didn't lose the way we lost to Denver here. We were still in this game. It's just if our offense didn't get going. So, that's about all I got. Disappointing loss. I'm not worried. We have a long stretch of games here. Like I said, 3 games in 12 days. But with all that being said, I think I'm about done here. Dallas will be fine. Kansas City's in first place still in the division. But this is a game that ultimately is not going to cost anything to Dallas. So with that being said, it was nice being with you guys. Sucks that I couldn't be on the show with you, with my boys, Dan and Kirby. The 3-man booth will be back next week. But with all that being said, Kirby, back to you.
Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
All right. Thank you to the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez, for that recap of the Carlos Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Dan, it's time for the hurry up offense. Are you ready?
Let's ready to roll, man. Let's get through it. Let's go.
First and foremost, the Patriots over the Falcons 25-0. I mean, what is there to say?
No, nothing to add.
It wasn't 28-3, and then the Patriots came back and won.
Oh boy, you got to keep reminding Falcons fans of that. They love it. Mac Jones just looks better and better every week. I've been impressed with him, and yeah, the Falcons are a terrible team.
Patriots, man, I wouldn't be surprised if they get into the playoffs.
They're 7-4, and you know the way the Bills have played. We'll touch on that. I could see the Patriots getting in.
Going right now to the Colts over the Bills. The Colts looked impressive. Jonathan Taylor with Madden rookie stats there. 32 carries, 185 yards, and 4 touchdowns as the Colts lay the pile driver over the Buffalo Bills 41-15.
Well, he ran so Carson Wentz could run, or he ran so Carson Wentz could walk in this game. That's how I would describe it. Yeah, the Colts are they're such an odd team to me, to be honest with you. They have a good game one week and then they have a stinker. So I'm not sure if this is something, you know, to watch out for. I will say for the Bills, I'm kind of concerned with the Bills right now. You know, they're 6-4. Their defense didn't do anything to stop the Colts at all. And, you know, I'm concerned that they only had 51. Their leading rusher, Matt Breida, only had 51 yards. So I'm concerned for the Bills moving forward.
I am too. The next game, the Texans over the Titans 22-13.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor's back. That might
He's
not
back.
seem impressive, but
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor, I love seeing him play. He needs to get a fair shake in this league with no injuries. He rushed for 2 touchdowns in this game. Former Hokie right there, Dan.
Yeah, and this was a sleepwalk game for the Titans. You know, they didn't play their best game and they kind of seemed disinterested. So Texans took advantage of it. You got to give credit where credit's due. And I don't know if Tyrod was that spark they needed to sort of get them moving, but it worked for them. I'm not quite to the level where I'm super concerned with Tennessee yet, just because they haven't had, they had that loss to the Jets that we remember from way back. This was kind of that other game, so hopefully it's out of their system now. They're able to continue to put their foot on the pedal and step up and win games down the stretch.
The Browns over the Lions 13-10. Browns,
yeah,
and not so hot of a game in my opinion, but the Browns without Jared Goff and obviously finding a way to lose. I'm surprised the Browns kept it that close, but Mayfield with 2 interceptions, Nick Chubb 130 yards rushing. But this Browns team, Baker made some complaints about the fans booing.
Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, he's got to accept that he didn't play well at all. And he's supposed to be that guy in the franchise. So obviously if you don't play well, fans are going to be upset and they're going to show you. So the Browns don't impress me, to be honest. And that's not just because I'm a Ravens fan. Well, that has something to do with it, but Baker, like you said, with 2 picks, he doesn't seem to get better. And that's just how he is as a quarterback. Lions, not much to say about them. They've had some close games too. You know what I mean? They've been in several of these games and really could have gone either way, but they're just the Lions. What can you say? They're just simply unlucky.
Absolutely. Next game, 49ers over Jags 30-10.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. Don't have much to say about this game. Jags are just, I mean, they're one of the worst teams in the league right now in this season. So this was a game the 49ers had to have to get back to 500. They were able to do it. And Garoppolo played well.
Dolphins over the Jets 24-17.
Yeah, again, not much to say. This is an AFC East matchup, and those games are normally pretty close for the most part, and this was no exception. Joe Flacco, 2 touchdown passes. I will say that much. Wasn't enough to help the Jets in this game. I mean, they don't have much help on defense. So, I don't have much else to say.
The Eagles over the Saints 40-29. If Dallas ends up imploding on themselves like they have been known for in years past. Now, I'm not saying anything like they will be imploding, but if they do, this is the team you need to watch out for in the NFC East. The Eagles are looking very sneaky, and Jalen Hurts knows how to operate a football, and he looks pretty darn good, Dan. I mean, in this game, 147 yards, another 69 yards with 3 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah, that's he's a dual threat, and he's really starting to come into his own. And he was struggling to start the season, but it's nice to see him finally start to step up and play really well for them. Yeah, you said it. The Eagles are sneaky good, and look, Trevor Siemian, he played a pretty good game. The Saints they have no defense at all. You know, they have to score 45, 50 points to keep up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, who would have thought the Eagles would have showed us that? But they did.
The Bengals over the Raiders 32-13. It looks like the Raiders are falling off a cliff, kind of.
Yeah, they've gone through a lot. You of course, with this stuff with Gruden and the stuff with Ruggs more recently, you can't deny the impact that has in a locker room and the attitudes and just emotions of your football team. So that's kind of what this to me is indicative of. And Cincinnati, they needed this win because they've had a couple games recently where it's been like, where did that Cincinnati go to beat the Ravens and had their Super Bowl when they beat the Ravens? So I'm not throwing shade at Cincinnati. It kind of sounds like I am. Yes, I am. This is just a case of one team sputtering and the other team needed a win. So that's what happened.
Colt McCoy leads the Cardinals to another victory over the Seattle Seahawks. Colt McCoy, man, it's great to see him back in the league still because he's had a lot of backup stints a lot of different places. And it's just impressive to see him being able to perform. But looking on the other side of football, Russell Wilson, the Seahawks, they're just not looking good, man.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but it makes me wonder if he'll ever be the same player he was, 6-7 years ago. Obviously, he's gotten older now. I hate to even think that, but you have to think that because Russell Wilson just hasn't looked good since he came back. And I know he's like 2 weeks, he's 2 weeks in from when he got his surgery. So maybe I shouldn't say anything now, but surprising that, I talked about, I'm surprised Colt McCoy's in the NFL even, but he played well. I mean, he threw for 328 yards, and the Cardinals find ways to win, man. It doesn't matter who they put out there. They're a good football team right now. And people still aren't talking about them that much, to be honest. It's kind of surprising to hear.
They're flying under the radar, in my opinion.
And you know what? That's probably the way they want it. Because when, usually when a team starts getting a lot of, national attention is when they start to fold. So I would say just fly, Cardinals fly, to use the Eagles phrase.
Dan, remember when we were at the beach and we were listening to that sport Mad Dog Radio or whatever? And I clearly remember the host saying Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the first coach to be fired this season.
Yeah, he was wrong about that.
It was just crazy that I heard that. And I agree with him. And right now the Cardinals are 9-2.
No one expected Kyler Murray to play as well as he has either, to play at an MVP caliber level. And look, they have weapons on offense, but that defense has also played well too. You got to give them credit for how they were able to especially shut down the Seahawks in this game. Only 36 rushing yards for Alex Collins, who was their leading rusher. So just crazy.
Last but not least, the Buccaneers over the Giants 30-10, and the Giants relieve offensive coordinator Jason Garrett of his duties.
Well, they should relieve everyone. I mean, they are pathetic. Sorry, Lauren, if you're listening to this, but yeah, it's this game doesn't surprise me. It was just really this was a game for Tampa Bay to get back on track, I think, more than anything else, because they've had some games recently where, again, similar to some other teams we talked about, where you're saying, where was the Tampa Bay that we saw to start the season, where their first two wins were just dominant? They came into this game losing 2 games in a row to Washington and to the Saints. So nice comeback win for the Tampa Bay. Jeez, I forgot their name. And that's really all Brady needs here for the second half of the season here to finish strong. And I think looking at their schedule, they will finish strong.
That does it for the Hurry Up offense. We will wrap things up right after this.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com, and I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
Wrapping things up here on the Kirby on Sports podcast, I'm Josh Kirby, joined by the weapon Dan Dembski. Dan, what are we looking out for this week?
That's a good question. I'm just looking at the games now. Titans Patriots seems like a good matchup to me. It's the 1:00 game on Sunday. That looks like a really good matchup, especially with the way the Titans played this past weekend. They got to get back on track. And the Patriots are hot as can be right now. So that'll be a great game. Also, I think I'm really excited to see Rams Packers. That's going to be a really fun game. I believe that's America's game of the week this week on Fox. See if Rodgers can keep it going, and see if Stafford can sort of turn it around from where he's been recently. So those are the two games I'm looking out for.
Man, I'm glad you didn't take mine. This happens once a year on a Thursday, Thanksgiving. You have not one, not two, but three football games, along with feasting on turkey and mashed potatoes. It is that time of year. It is a season of giving. It is the holiday season. I really, truly believe that the holiday season starts when Thanksgiving begins, and can't believe
that's
we're
common. Yeah, that's a pretty common thought.
No, okay, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know how other people think. So, yeah,
That's
but
fair.
still, I still can't believe we're almost to Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you're feasting, hanging out with family, and watching some gosh darn football. I don't care if it's the Bears, Lions, Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, and Saints. It's going to be 3 very good football games, maybe, that I get to sit back and enjoy while eating turkey, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie, and who knows what else. I mean, I
haven't had dinner yet, so slow down with that food, man.
No, it's a Buffalo Wing Factory will take care of you. But anyways,
I think I'm gonna do Chick-fil-A. But anyway, that's
all right. But anyways, eating all that and watching football and spending time with family. Nothing better than that. I mean, yeah, Dan, just sort of wrapping things up, your go-to Thanksgiving dish.
Oh man, it's got to be my mom's corn pudding. It's like cornbread, but it's like in a casserole form. Oh, it's really, really good. It's really good. Man. It goes great with all your other Thanksgiving foods. So it's
favorite Thanksgiving dessert.
Gotta be, man. Got to be pumpkin pie, just because, it really only comes around this time of year. Like you can get it any time, but this is the time when everybody gets pumpkin pie. It hits differently, man. It's really good. I mean, also apple pie. I mean, I'm a big pie guy. I'm Dan the pie guy. I could eat pie all the time. So, what's yours?
I'm going turkey with home style gravy. That's the way my family does it. It tastes really well. Creamy mashed potatoes, just nice and creamy, white, loaded with gravy and salt. My gosh. Then pumpkin pie, and we do a chocolate pie too. And
that sounds good. I'm coming over.
A pudding pie, something like that. It's very good.
I'm definitely coming over. I love chocolate. And I love pudding pie. So yeah.
It's going to be fun. And
yes,
that about wraps it up. Dan, thanks for joining me once again. And I wish you and yours a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, man. Looking forward to what we do at the end of this year and all into next year. Very thankful for you and thankful for this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Thankful for you. Thankful that you continue to stay on this podcast.
And I'm thankful for Carlos as well. I guess, since even though he's not here.
We're thankful for Carlos as well. And we're thankful for all of you who take time out of your day to listen to our podcast, because it means the world. And we greatly appreciate all of your support. We greatly appreciate our sponsors, the Trumbull Insurance Agency, Patrick Bankemper. We greatly appreciate Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. Thank you to everybody, our sponsors, listeners, family, friends, who take the time to support the Kirby on Sports podcast, because without you all, we have drive to do this, but without your encouragement, there's no drive if nobody's pushing you to get better and better, encouraging you along the way. So we really do appreciate that. And it just means the world. All the guests, all the people willing to come on my show, Rick Doc Walker, everybody, too many people to name, but I'm really thankful for what this podcast has given to me, and Dan and Carlos as well. So it's gonna, I'm looking forward to this holiday season, the new year, and seeing what that brings for this podcast.
Can't wait. It's gonna be, we're gonna do even bigger things next year, I think.
I'm hoping for the best there, my man. So
Yes, sir.
you can check out anything and everything, the Kirby on Sports podcast at kirbyonsports.com. Find us on all social media platforms as well. Until the next time you hear from us, eat a lot of turkey, eat a lot of pumpkin pie, stay safe, stay healthy, happy holidays, so long, and peace out.